7:41 AM Quad Cities at News Talk 1420 WOC with Dan and Dan. A few changes over at the Rock Island County Board this week. Don Johnston and Drue Mielke, both Rock Island County Board members, in the studio with us. Good morning, guys. Good to see you again.
Good morning.
Before we talk about those changes, I know, Don, you're on the committee that oversees Hope Creek, and yesterday, or late yesterday, we learned that the state's attorney basically suspended, and I guess that's the best way to say it, suspended the board that oversees Hope Creek, so they can't meet, do anything. What can you explain what's going on at Hope Creek right now?
Well, confusion, I guess, is the best word. I don't know exactly what's going on. I can tell you that the state's attorney had some problems that were brought to him via the committee chairman of the Hope Creek Committee, or the Health and Human Resources Committee. And it was regarding some problems with the Open Meetings Act and how they understand that that board is under that also, and it has to be adhered to. So until we correct that and then get into some of the other things that are some friction between the company that we hired to run it and that board, which are really involved, and I'm not privy to all of them, but that's the type of thing that we have to correct.
Okay. Well, it was the Argus Dispatch where the story came from this morning. Basically was insinuating that there was like a big power struggle going on.
Well, there could be some of that. There's a lot of egos, I guess you'd say, in some of this. I was concerned about it way back when. I was the one that got the original contract from Lake County, where HDG or HDG.
Yeah.
First started. And what's happened up there is over a period of, that was 2011. In 2013, they wrote a contract that strengthened their position a little bit with the employees. And as I understand, in 2015, I'm not sure the outcome, they were trying to take over the employees, which opens a whole new version of a collective bargaining. Whether that happened or not, I don't know, but I suspect that is going on out there also. They're trying to tighten their position.
And there's a question of how does that committee, or how does that oversight board report to? Do they report to the committee, or do they report to the board as a whole? And I know that question is out there. Last night I was downloading from past minutes the bylaws just to figure it all out, and I never did get I never did find that answer. And maybe it's out there, but
yeah,
maybe they report to both. But I know there's a control issue there somewhere.
Yeah. And frankly, we got into it. It looks like without dotting all our I's and crossing our T's, the incentives have never been negotiated completely, and more importantly, haven't been signed.
Right.
And that's money, and of course, for that company, that's what this is all about. And so those are the type of things that have to be worked out, and the friction between our management committee and the company that's running it is where the problem in that regard is.
Well, that management committee, though, they're going to have to get them put back together pretty quickly here, right? I mean, how long do you think this is going to take to resolve this?
That we're supposed to have some special meetings coming up on that. They were trying to get one the 30th, frankly, but it's hard to get everybody when they can't attend it. You make your schedule for the month of the meetings. When they call these special ones, it's hard to get everybody together. So how it's going to work out or when it's going to be, I don't know, but it's coming up quick.
And the purpose of this was that we were supposed to, be less interactive. And
exactly
it's
right.
Ironic that it seems like we're even more entrenched. And I don't like to see that, because that was the whole purpose, is that, the county, we just all decided the county probably isn't best suited to run a nursing home. And yet we're really hands-on still. And I don't like that.
And he's exactly right. And I'm a former business agent with a construction union, so don't take this the wrong way. But what I had thought from the start, if we don't get as far away from negotiating the contracts as a county board, we've got nothing. We're in the same boat we were in before.
Right. And it's kind of interesting that this is all over open meetings laws, and all the stuff is happening behind the scenes. There's that element of all of this too. So let's talk about the reforms packages that passed this week. I know you guys were on opposite sides of all the packages. We're talking about the pension, the health care, and let's talk about the shrinking of the county board first. It passed. Yep. It passed to bring it down to 15 in 2020, I think, is the plan. But in reality, that really holds no weight, because
it has weight only because we've put it out there in a very strong way, but we don't have any power over a future elected board. But at that same time, that directive, and I call it a directive, whether it has any binding power or not, the people that are going to run for that or in place in that they're going to be accountable to the public. And we had 72% in 2012 on a grassroots movement that put this on the ballot without the county board putting it on. Put a question on the ballot. 72% said they wanted 15 members. So if anyone runs for that office thinks that they're not going to they're going to slough off and not address this, they're going to be in for a rude awakening. They're going to be accountable to the public, maybe not to us, but they're going to be accountable. And I'm a member of the public too.
Yeah. Well, Don, why didn't you support it?
Well, for the main reason it wasn't binding. I think it's put on there for another purpose as well as the rest of these things, is to make it look like the county board is really cutting back. The reality of this, I brought this up back in 2010. I wrote a viewpoint on it, which I have, and I'll leave it with you, that we should start doing it then, because I watched this stuff go on in 1980, I watched it in 90, and I watched it in 2010. I decided to say something because people wouldn't find out about it till the redistricting was done. It was all over, and they couldn't do a darn thing about it. But
Don was one of the members at the time of redistricting at the decennial reapportionment that we are holding to right now. And he said, maybe now's the time to look at this. And I don't want you to paraphrase, but I've read it over and over again. I wish it would have happened.
You're not opposed to shrinking the size of the board. You're just opposed to this resolution the way this is.
I'm doing it this time because, quite frankly, this is being done. So there's some referendums that can be put on in July to frankly raise taxes. And it's trying to make the board look good before they do that. I mean, the people that, and Drue isn't one of them, the people that talk about this referendum that was 72% seem to forgot about the referendum. It said the building commission didn't want to do.
Yeah, right.
And judges 4 years later, all of a sudden that said you couldn't do it. All of a sudden out of the clear blue sky, there's a court case that comes along and says, oh, yeah, we can do it, so let's spend $28 million. And the principal proponents of both these are the same people, and I just didn't think it was the time to do that, and we'll discuss this when the time comes.
This tax increase you speak of, what? So you're saying that the board is doing these things right now, reducing the size of the board, we're getting rid of health care and pensions for board members. That's sort of to make us just think, hey, look, the board's responsive. They're doing nice stuff because there's a tax increase sitting on the horizon.
I've heard inklings that it could be a sales tax. I'm not for it. I think we're making steps to getting our house in order, and some of the steps that our administrator Dave Ross is doing is showing that we're finding places where we can be even leaner. I don't hope we're not going to be skeletal, but I'm scared of that too. You can be a little bit too lean.
Right.
Services won't. In the cuts that we're talking about now, I'm just concerned that those offices are going to function correctly. But at the same time, what else can we do? We got two choices. Do we have a spending problem or do we have a revenue problem? Well, I'm not for raising taxes. I'm not even for the sales tax. You can argue, say, well, people outside your district will support it. That's what we do when we shop in Iowa. We support Scott County's endeavors.
Right.
So I get it, but I'm against it, and I certainly don't want to go on a PR campaign to increase our image to raise taxes. That's not my point in voting for any of these. The other two have teeth, by the way. The other two resolutions that we did do have teeth, and I'm proud. I think I'm proud of those. I don't think any county board member, any person in my district thinks that I should have a pension or health care, and I agree with them.
Well, I disagree a little on that. What's happened is they're taking this away at this time, and right now, what I tried to accomplish the other night was that they would honor the term of the board member. In other words, if you're going to take it away at the end of the term.
Yeah.
And that was voted down. They got 8 votes, I believe, or something like that. But that seemed more realistic. The public also thinks that they give us this stuff for the most part. They don't, and as I showed Dan this morning, there's a check stub. About 25% of my health care is paid by me, and that's something like $1,280 or something that comes out for my health experience. And the county pays $4,890. So it's about 25%. That's one paycheck short of a full year.
And health insurance is not a perk. I think that was unfair. The pension is a perk, but health insurance is not a perk. He pays into it. So I think that's
tell you
fair.
that I when I was reading the story, I thought, because they wanted to take it away in April. That was like the
Yeah.
original
Yeah, that-
thing.
and-
I
and
thought
that
you
was
can't
wrong.
take somebody's health care away in less than in a month.
That's
and give
that's
them,
wrong. No one can get health insurance in a month.
And-
So
and-
that we went to July 30th. That was Kai Swanson. And I thought, you need to be fair to the people that are receiving it.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense to say. I actually would have agreed with you, Don. Say, hey, if you're elected,
Well,
if
don't
that's-
sound so
if-
shocked, Dan.
No, but if you're elected, and this is the deal when you're elected, then that's the way it. That's the way it has to stay. And if you're going to change something, change it after the term, so the person
Right.
can decide. Hey, do I want to keep doing this? Do I want
Want
to
a recall
I'm fine
vote on
with
that?
Yeah. Well, let me
I'm more concerned about this tax thing that you guys keep talking about, though. That has me very concerned.
Let me say one thing quickly on the pension, which
Yes.
is basically the same thing. We pay about 25% of that also.
Mm-hmm.
But with a pension to a board member that makes 48 or 5,800 that I make, which is the average, most of them, it doesn't do you a lot of good. You could be there
No.
and be eligible at the end of the eligibility period. You get about $60 a month. Where it's good is it counts for time. So in other words, I'm too old, but a younger person that sits on the board for 8 or 10 years and then becomes a county clerk or becomes something else in the county, then that time counts towards his public service, where 20 years, he's got his 20 years. Otherwise, he just wasted 8-10 years of his public service, really.
Yeah. Well, but I think people look at that and say that being on the board, that wasting time if you're not building pension time. I think people look at that as an honor rather than or a duty. You decide that's what I want to do. And a lot of people do that and still work a regular job and still save up for their own retirement.
I mean, I was on the village board in Coe Valley. I wasn't in IMRF.
Yeah.
When I came into the county, they said, well, you're eligible. I signed the papers, and I know I've said this before, but no one said you can't get out. But I don't think my time at the village board was wasted, and I wasn't in IMRF.
Right.
It wasn't wasted. We made $90 a month, and
Let me rephrase that. It isn't not wasted, but
didn't mean to put words in your mouth that way, but I mean, I get what you're saying is that it would be valuable if you were going to be in public service a long period.
Right. Well, gentlemen, we're out of time. It's always great to have you stop by, and I'm glad the board did what it did this week. I know you're not, Don. Sorry, but I'm.
Well, in principle, it's
Yeah,
more,
that's true.
It's
Yeah,
more
that's-
the way they did it as opposed to just the actual principles of what they're
we'll
trying
talk
to do.
again as we get closer to this tax increase you guys keep hinting at coming at us. So it is 7:53. It's Don Johnston and Drue Mielke.
Well,
from
we
the
didn't even
Rock
have a
Island
chance
County Board.
to ask them about the animal count out at Niabe Zoo either.
No,
so,
we didn't. Well, they're not. You guys aren't running that anymore, right? Or that's
Or is that
about
done
to be
yet, or
passed
you-
on.
process of changing.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
It's,
we're in
it's,
flux.
Right.
Now they got that half dog, half coyote, something I want to see. I don't
think they have it out there yet.
Does it
it's running
bark
around
or does it
somewhere.
howl? We
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
know that.
I know.
So we
well,
asked too. I don't know.
we better send them a cease and desist order then.
Right. So 7:53. Dan and Dan here at AM Quad Cities.